Evening and welcome to BWTM Sports Gaming. Glad you could join me. It's becoming increasingly difficult to talk about boxing in this new age, this new world that we're in. My reviews on Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn, the rematch. On the appearance of things, Eubank Jr. looked like he trained better, was in better shape for the second fight. Benn looked bigger and stronger for the second fight. Eubank was lighter coming into the second fight. On the scales, he looked okay. He made the weight. But in the fight, the best way for me to describe this is like watching an episode of the Masters of the Universe. Eubank taking the role up as Skeletor, and Benn being He-Man. Skeletor trying to attack He-Man, and for the good of the world, for the good of the people, Benn knocks Eubank down. He-Man knocks Skeletor down in the 12th round, and the stadium erupts. He-Man is celebrated like he's had the greatest win of his career, triumphant, dominant universal champion, all this stuff. And I just asked myself the question, how was it allowed for Chris Eubank Jr. to even be able to step into that ring to box? There was clearly something wrong with him. Clearly. He wasn't a shell of himself. He was a skeleton of himself. That's why you call him Skeletor. He was so bad, his footwork was terrible, he couldn't even put his punches together. If you look at Eubank that fought Liam Smith, and you look at this Eubank, he couldn't put his punches together. It was difficult for him to even put out a jab. His coordination was all over the place. He was, I don't even know how he made the weight this time round and what the stipulation was this time round. Benn talks about him taking the soul of Eubank, but even though he got beaten the first fight, I mean, Benn didn't go there and actually demolish Eubank, but he beat him up over round after round after round. A weight drained, weakened Chris Eubank Jr. And I said in my build up to the fight that for Benn to win the fight, he'd have to push the fight, work the body, which he did, and do what he had to do. However, I mean, I've got to ask the question, how did the British Boxing Board of Control allow Skeletor to enter the ring? And that's the word you've got to call it, Skeletor. And the way Benn is being celebrated is like he's He-Man. Oh, I moved up from 147 pounds to 160 pounds. That's a lie. You boxed 154 pounds. And then you moved up to 160 pounds. And now you talk about you're going to drop back down to 147 pounds. Wait a minute. I hope that when you go back to 147 pounds, there's going to be no complaints about weight and weight stipulations, because karma in this sport, in life, is undisputed. That's the one undisputed truth I know. And you see what was made with Eubank to do back there in the weight? Don't worry, that will come back around viciously. Especially now Benn is going to try and get himself down to 147 because he knows he can't compete at 154. If anybody can sit in this chat and tell me that Conor Benn can compete at 154 and fight the likes of Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz, if you think he can beat them guys. And the question is, what is Benn's punch resistance going to be like when he goes back down to 147? We've seen guys who've tried it and failed. We saw Roy Jones come from heavyweight and come back down. That was come back down to light heavy and get starched. So I don't know how Benn is going to get himself back down to 147 safely. Looking at what's happened with Conor Benn's career, you know what it reminded me of when I'm watching it and the celebrations I'm watching? Where have I seen this sort of situation before, where a guy's been like a villain and then turned into a national hero? Oh yeah. David Beckham. Yeah, Beckham. Yeah, when he tripped that guy over down in the World Cup. You remember that time? And everyone said him death threats and he was the worst thing since sliced bread. He was terrible. He was a villain. He was public number one enemy for getting sent off at the World Cup. Do you remember? What happened afterwards? Took the free kick against Greece. Hero. And before we know it now, we've got Sir Beckham. So, I don't get it. Well, I get it. I get that side of things, the script. But I'm afraid people like me in boxing are going to get phased out. And I don't phased out because when you're looking to predict a boxing fight based on integrity, principles, like people are going to come in at the right weights and those sort of things, the in-betweens, like there's a lot of in-betweens now. There's a lot of grey areas now that you wouldn't consider before. You wouldn't think about before. That now you would consider. Now you would consider, good evening. What was legitimately wrong with him? That's that night. It's such a shame. I'm a huge Junior fan. I'm a huge Junior fan. But you could see from round one, there was something. Do you know what your Junior looked like? Another example of what Junior looked like. Junior looked like when De La Hoya fought Pacquiao. That was a better example to give you. When De La Hoya fought Pacquiao, De La Hoya looked good on the scales. Then he got in the ring, he just couldn't let his punches go. And Pacquiao was beating the crap out of De La Hoya. And how did they know? How do you know for sure? The promoter's saying it, Benn saying it. Oh, he's never going to box again. We're never going to see Chris Eubank Jr. again. What is it? Why is it that they knew that Eubank was no way going to come back and win this fight? And to a point they knew he would never box again. How did they know? Exactly. How did they know? You see now, some guy in the comment section the other day, now we're going live on this, he said, I was talking about Joshua and a potential slave contract. And he said I was talking lots of nonsense. But I know clearly that person doesn't read because Joshua's got a lifetime contract with Matchroom. How many boxers do you know have got lifetime contracts? The other thing you've got to think to yourself now, that lifetime contract that Joshua's got, could that lifetime contract be sold to the Saudis? Because obviously they're buying Matchroom or something like that, right? Could they potentially have bought Joshua in the process of that? I don't know. He's now fighting on Netflix. We'll talk about that conversation afterwards. Coming back to his fight with Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. How did they know? Which makes me start to think. Eubank said he struggled in the gym. Listen, I have known fighters, or I've known situations where to the outside world it would look as if one guy clearly beat another guy through, let's say, just fair game. I've known fighters, let me give you an example of the sort of things that can happen, right? This is not the case, but I'm giving you an example, right? Fighters, when they travel from England to America to fight, example, has happened, where they put the fighter in a hotel and all through the night, the fighter will get disturbed. That will happen. Disrupt the fighter's sleep patterns so that they can't get a good night's sleep. People knocking on the doors. There was one that was put near, they were doing construction right next door to the hotel. All sorts of stuff that you think you as an individual watching, listening to this, you think nothing much of it. But as a fighter, you'd get it. So a lot of ignorance goes on with the sport of boxing. That's one situation. Another situation where you go and you are offered to go and eat a meal somewhere, and then next minute, 24 hours later, you got food poisoning. And if from food poisoning, you're retaking your fight. Instead of fighting, you have to, take the time to rest up to get over the food poisoning. But you can't cancel the fight because people need you to fight. So you get food poisoning. What do the fans now want to care about you getting food poisoning? I mean, the fact that Chris got ridiculed for his toenail falling off, but you guys telling you, look, I had a problem. I got seriously dehydrated. I remember when Stu was telling me how when he was he was in the hospital after the Wilder fight, he was pissing brown. That, we pissed yellow when he was pissing brown. That's how bad the dehydration was. That's not normal. So I'm just giving you examples, just little examples of things that can happen. I'm not suggesting it happened there. He obviously had a terrible camp. Ben Shalom was trying to talk about it. Eubank cut him short on it. I don't know. He is 36 years old. I better take that into consideration. Weight drained. I do take that into consideration as well. It was ridiculous he even accepted it in the first place. The whole weight draining thing. But money's money, isn't it? I don't know. The fact that even murmurs within the boxing community that, Eubank took the fall for this fight. And his father was, after Eubank had got, he got knocked down at 12th round and was hurt. Clearly, he got to his feet and stayed through the 12 rounds. His father was there dancing to the music while his son obviously was, coming out of a 12-round war. And the first thing I'd be doing is embracing my son and asking him if he's okay. I won't be standing in the crowd or I won't be in the ring dancing away. That's the last thing I'd be doing. It's not good. So, I don't know. I really don't know. De La Hoya looked terrible against Pacquiao. Fought that one at catchweight. Same thing with the Cotter fight. There you go. Surely a lifetime contract would come to an end when the fighter isn't fit to fight. Well, it'd come to an end when the fighter retires. You have to ask yourself the question, and I don't really want to talk about Joshua too much, but think about how many fights Joshua's had in a year and how you would want to. An easy way of not fighting, but at the same time, kind of letting the dates tick, let the months tick by to the end of your contract where you can retire. Now, that'd be the reason why Joshua hasn't fought as regular as people would expect him to fight. And plus, he's got a lot of money in the bank as well. Yeah. When Eubank Jr. went to urinate, he said he couldn't because his body was so dehydrated it was holding onto the urine. Jesus. So I've got the question of the British Boxing Board of Control. Where are we with all this? How can we be allowing Eubank Jr. to have actually stepped foot in the ring? That money comes before the health of a fighter. And yes, he signed up for the fight. He did. And yes, he accepted the terms. Yes. But it's not the British Boxing Board of Control role to step in when there's a situation and say, hey, you are not fit to fight. And are they going to make a call on that when a guy is not fit to fight? I don't know. They made the call on Ben. He wasn't fit to fight because they found things in his system. Or did they? I don't know. Hey, bruh, show me your skills. What? But clearly somebody new to the channel. Let's move on. But sometimes these fighters have to be saved from themselves. Joker fight, guy was drained to the gills. That's what I'm saying to you. This is what I'm saying to you, boxing fans. What is the role of the British Boxing Board of Control? And if so, they are in control. They are the organisation. I'm assuming that give the final checks that a fight can go ahead, a fight can't go ahead. Clearly. Anybody gassing that win is crazy to me. Absolutely. Can you? It's not. I can't even say congratulations, Conor Benn, because what did you beat? You beat a guy there that was absolutely. He couldn't put two punches together. Well, almost looking like he's going to fall over. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to think. I really don't know what to think. I think that we have to be looking with a different set of glasses now. Does it do what it says on the tin? If you go and you buy a can of baked beans, you expect to open the can of baked beans and see baked beans inside. When you see British Boxing Board of Control, you expect to see them taking care and showing due diligence with the well-being of a fighter. And on those grounds alone, Eubank shouldn't have fought. And I remember Chris Senior saying something along, wait until you see the fight. Wait until you see the fight. We saw the fight. So Chris Senior knew what Chris Jr. was going to do in that ring. He knew. He said he was trying to protect him at the weigh-in. What was he trying to protect him from? Because obviously he didn't do a good enough job protecting him, because look at the state of him. Look at the state of Chris Jr. Now we have to congratulate Ben. He put on a masterclass, only he beat who's in front of you. I know you've been sarcastic there. I know you too well. And still, a weight drained and dehydrated Eubank, Ben couldn't put him away. Well, that makes you think, doesn't it? It makes you wonder. It does make you wonder. There's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of question marks. Masterclass. You know, I want you to actually put this into your brains for a second. Conor Benn hasn't won a British title. He hasn't won a Commonwealth title. He hasn't had a European title. He hasn't won a world title. He won a WBA Continental belt, right? And he's able to be in a stadium fight, not once, but twice. You name me any other boxer with an Olympic pedigree or stellar amateur career that's had that. And ask yourself the question, if Chris Eubank Jr. was not around, just for a second, we'd still be talking about Conor Benn not being able to win an area title. You remember that talk? Haha, you got me. Was checking to see if you believe me or not, LOL. I reckon Eubank did it for a chance at a trilogy for an extra bag. But on such a shit show, he's not going to get that now. All right. Even if that was the case, that trilogy thing, that I heard that's come up a few times about the trilogy thing, even if it was a case of trilogy, there were things you would do in that fight to protect yourself. He wasn't able to protect himself. One. Two, when he started putting punches together, they were discoordinated. They did not have any sort of, his feet were, he was skating around the ring. He didn't have any balance. He couldn't put shots together with any fluidity or any strength. That is not a guy that's looking for a trilogy. That's a guy that wants to get home safe to his twins, his future twins. Now, I don't also know the fact that, you know, obviously he's preparing to become a father, if that had any effect on it as well. This reoccurring theme of fighters bringing their children or their close relatives to gyms is something that I just do not think is right, in my opinion. I don't think it's right. I really don't. We saw it the week before with Joseph Parker. We see this the week, yeah, the week we saw a lot. We saw with Eubank bringing his nephew into, and I get it, I understand it, but really, it's like Cliff was the damn sacrificial lamb out there. Yeah, that's what that's more like it. That is more. That's what I'm talking about there. That's more like it. And true. Do you think it was just the weight that ruined him? No, I don't. I don't. You see, when people speak out, this is something I've noticed in the boxing world as well. We talk about Ricky Hatton, and we talk about the awful tragedy that happened to Ricky Hatton, right? And I had to sit down and watch Tony Sisse. Have you ever seen the interview already? Tony Sisse, who was close friends with Ricky Hatton, who introduced Ricky to the Gallagher brothers, better known as Oasis, break down in tears about Ricky Hatton, how close Ricky was, and talked about such a great guy Ricky was, and obviously the mental challenge that Ricky went through and had to go through before his passing. We talk about this and we do tributes and all the rest of it 1 week. And then the next week, you have people talking about the challenges they faced in the ring, real life situations, and they're being mocked for it. A guy's been dehydrated so bad that his toenail falls off, and we laugh at that. Are we really thinking about what's going on here? A person speaks out about the truth or their truth and what they're experiencing, and we just dismiss it like it's not important. It doesn't matter. But the people that we celebrate, the people we seem to, well, I don't celebrate, but the people you seem to celebrate are the ones inflicting the pain. I don't get this. I don't understand this sort of mentality. It's a savage mentality. We sit down and clap for the people that inflict the pain or contribute to a person's demise. And when a person's in a situation of pain and vulnerability, we take the opportunity to laugh and humiliate them even more. I don't see anything funny about somebody saying, look, I was dehydrated. And the fact I was dehydrated, I lost my toenail. That's just truth. And I don't see anything funny or sinister. I don't think anything funny about the fact that somebody's in an ambulance who needs help and he can't get out the stadium. I don't see anything funny about that. And the people who find that funny, unless they find themselves in a situation or their parents or a member of their loved one in the family, when it matters, then you care. God forbid any of us ever get in a situation we're in a football stadium, we're attending a concert thing, and we need to get out, and the barricades up. God forbid a situation like that. And Chris got out safe and well. But again, this stuff we laugh at. I didn't laugh at it. I'm looking and going, this is ridiculous. Eubank's talking about the stuff in boxing. This is a guy that we celebrate. I know he does some interesting things and is a bit of a showman. But when you listen to what the man is saying, he's speaking fact. But we take that as an opportunity to try and mock him. And you look at the people who are doing the mocking. The people that do the mocking and the ones that are doing the bet getting the benefits from it. Financially. Of course, if you're interfering in people's business, if you are interfering in people's money and you're a threat to people's money and the way of them continue to make money, you have to be removed. Or you need to be taught a lesson. Are there ways of a fighter to be weakened so much that they don't fight again? I remember when Wilder was talking to Stavern, the first fight, and he said he would beat him so bad that he probably wouldn't fight again, and he was so sure of it. And Stavern ended that fight being dehydrated, a heavyweight being dehydrated. This is medical. Think about that for a second. What reason would a heavyweight be dehydrated? Let's think about this. I just think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. I'm not going to answer those questions because I'm not into the sport of boxing that way. And I'm honest, I am seriously losing um, any remaining faith I have in this sport. I'm losing it. And it seems to me the sport is being built up now in a way that has got people that lack no knowledge to ask the questions, or the people at the top that need to ask the real questions will not ask the real questions. Therefore, we're going to have a a comic book or a circus of boxing, which only benefits those that are making the money and benefits nobody. It does not benefit the fans. Because what the fans want to see, the fans want to see fights, and the fans are going to get to see fights. But the fans are not going to get the fights the way they think they're going to get the fights. Eubank Benn 2 is just an example of that. Yeah, we didn't get Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn like the legit Eubank Jr. who was fighting against Liam Smith. We didn't get that. We got two versions of Eubank being trained and Skeletor like. That's what we saw. That's what we saw. So the faces may look the same, but the content of what they're actually going to produce, it's not worth pay-per-view. So we got robbed of something that was not. I don't know if that comes with the trading standards or not, but they say that if you're selling a product, it's got to be what we see. And we see Eubank, the face of him, being well hydrated. But when he got in the ring, the product was Eubank was weight drained, but not weight drained to the point where he was unable to perform, unable to throw punches. Am I wrong? Oh, by the way, if there's any moderators who've got in the room that see any nonsense comments, block these people and remove them from the room, please. Because I'm just ignoring the comments. The whole camp, he was probably down there starving himself. Possibly. Food poisoning. Stuff slipped in the water. Weight loss in the water. You just don't know. Anything's possible. The fact that they had a guy, it's come out in I think it's Troy Williamson. He was in Eubank's camp for 10 days and he shifted from Eubank's camp and went into Benn's camp and continued training. What was all that about? I don't know. How are we doing? Just a warning to anybody who wants to talk nonsense in the chat. Just be aware that your YouTube channel will probably get taken down. Just a warning to let you know that. Eubank conned the public. He knew he was shot and went ahead with it for the bag. Well, how do you know a person's shot? How can we suggest he was shot, John? If he's fully rehydrated, yeah. If he's fully rehydrated, then we can say and he was all guns blazing, and he was fully rehydrated. Then we can say he was shot. But you can't call a guy shot when he's been trained and clearly trained, because it wasn't even vintage Eubank. It wasn't even the Eubank that fought Liam Smith. Second fight. Remember the first fight Eubank? Let's take us back to the first fight Eubank. Got him trying to get himself down to 157 or 15 to fight Liam Smith. We messed up the weights then. I should have gone with Ben and realised that Eubank left everything in their first fight. Did he leave everything in the first fight? Or is that something that was made people to believe? And then when he was in camp, something happened in camp. He will most likely use his payday to pay off Neymar. Can't see anything asking for a trilogy. Maybe. Yeah, well, I'll talk at AJ. I'm going to talk about Jake Paul and AJ in a minute anyway. But just some thoughts there for people to go back on the replay and have a listen to. So yeah, okay, sounds good. I'm going to come back and do my Anthony Joshua video next. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Have a listen back to the video. Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think. Um, yeah, this is BWTM Sports Gaming. I'll be back. Have a good one.